Hello everyone, my name is Justice Selassie Jiwonu, a cybersecurity student group I, and welcome to this short C++ programming lesson. In today's lesson, I'll show you how to write your first C++ program known as Hello World. We'll also look at the basic structure of a C++ program and explain each line or what each line means. So we'll start with the include IOStream. So yes, an individual may ask, what is the meaning of include arrow stream in C++? So we say the include arrow stream allows us or allows an individual to use inputs and outputs in C++. So we move to the next line, which is the standard library, which is using namespace std. So we go using namespace std. Also, when doing writing a C++ code, you need to be very careful with your spellings and the correct words used in C++. So yes, we say what's the meaning of using namespace std in C++. So this saves us from writing std every time we use things like cout. So we move to the next line, which is the int main. The int main with a parenthesis and a curly brace. So yes, in between the curly brace, or okay, let's explain what an int main is. So the int main, this is the main function every C++ program starts running. So yes, before you start running an every C++ program, it starts from here, the function you name, and we've named ours as int main. Yes, so that's our function we are using in today's lesson. So we move on to the next line. So over here, we are outputting our instruction, or we are giving in our instruction to the C++ program. So we would use the hello world, which is the very first basic structure for C++. So cout hello world. So we are ending this line with the end line and a semicolon, or we terminate. So we move to the end line, to the last line, which is the return zero. So someone may ask, why did I make a cout in the end line? So this line prints, this line we just made, the cout hello world. This line will print hello world to the screen, where cout also means console out, and the end line ends the line, which is hello world. That's it. So we move to the end, this last line, which is return zero. So someone may ask, what's the meaning of return and what's the meaning of this zero? So this ends the program and and returns zero, which means the program would run successfully. Yes, so we would terminate it, else it wouldn't run successfully. So let's run and see our outputs. Okay, so we can see here it printed hello world on our screen. So code execution was successful. So this will bring us to the end of our first lesson. Hi, welcome back. In this lesson, we'll talk about data types and declaration in C++. This helps the computer understand what kind of data we are using in our program. So with the data type, we have data types such as the integer, the float type, the character, the boolean, and void. We also have the string and some others. So we would see how to declare integer, float type, character, and the other data types in C++. So we'll continue from where we ended. So we still have include Airstream, standard library, int main, which is our function. So we begin by declaring or naming the data types in our C++ code. So we look at how the integer, so which is int age, which is equal to 20. Then we terminate. So I would explain each line after we declare integer. So we move to, okay, I can see the spelling of int. So we move to float, the data type float, which is float height is equal to 5.8. Then we terminate. Then let's comment float. So let's move to the next, which should we character grade, which is equal to a, a capital A. Then we terminate. So let's comment character. So we move to the next line, which would be let's make it boolean. It's going to be bol fail passed. Let's make it passed. True. Then we terminate. So now we comment as boolean. So let's move to the next data type, which is void. And um, then terminate, comment as void. So yes, let's now explain what each line means. So excuse, we explain the int age as int is used for whole numbers like 20, 30, 10, 5, 6, and those whole numbers. Yes. So that's the int age. So integer is used to declare whole numbers. And whereas the float is also used to declare decimals, or it's used for decimal values like the 5.8, the 6.31, the 9.5, 9.36, and all the decimal values. So yes, that's the importance of float in C++. So look at the character. So what's the character over here? So character also holds a single character like the A used in single quote. So yes, someone may ask, why do we use A and maybe not AB? So it says character holds a single character like A. And also here we can see grade. So why did we input grade over here? So we can see in grading exams, we are sometimes being given A, an A plus, a B, a C, a D, and all those. So yes, we can use the character for such declarations. So we move on to the boolean, which is given as bool passed equal to true. So the bool stores either a true or a false statement or value. So we move to the void, which means nothing. Voice means nothing. It's often used for functions that returns nothing or to create pointers. So yes, that's all about the data types. So we'll move on to excuse me, we'll move on to the declaration. So declaration is when we tell the computer about a variable before using it. So you say, let's explain it down here. Declaration is you tell when you tell the computer, um, sorry, when we tell the computer about a variable before using it. So yes, that's the definition for declaration. So to declare something, let's give an example using the int. So it's for declaration, it goes like int number, then we terminate the side, then move to the next line. So over here we are going to assign a value to the int number. We are going to assign a value to this. So we go, or we do it by number is equal to 12, then we terminate. So let's just comment over here. So this is the declaration. So over here, let's comment as assigning a value to, okay, let's do that, assigning a value. So over here we've declared int number and we've assigned a number to it as 12. So let's try another example. Excuse. So also you can also declare multiple variables. Yes, you can also declare multiple variables which would be given as int x, which is equal to 5, and y equal to 7, z equals to 9. Yes, and yes, so over here we've declared multiple variables using the int. We can declare many variables of the same type on one line, separated by only commas. As you can see here, we only separated them by using the commas over here. We separated x equals 5, y equals 7, z equals 9 by commas. So this is all about the declaration and the data type. So this will bring us to the end of declaration and data type in today's lesson. Hello, welcome to another C++ lesson. And in this lesson, we'll discuss about expression and statements, the types and examples of expression. So yes, let's move on to our ID and see for ourselves. So someone may ask, what then is an expression, or what's the meaning of an expression? An expression is anything that produces a value. Is anything that produces a value. So we have an example here as 5 plus 3. So over here, the expression is adding two numbers, which gives us a value of 8. Yes, so it's adding two values, which is the 5 and the 3. As we can see, it's adding two values, which is 5 plus 3. So let's give another example. X times 2. So with this expression, it's multiplying x by 2. Yes, it's multiplying x by 2. So we have a last example. Let's make it age. Age is greater than or equal to 18. So this checks if age is 18 or more. It checks. So this expression here, the expression age is greater than or equal to 18. It checks if the age is 18 or more than 18. So yes, so we can say that expression can be both mass comparison or even variable assignments. So we have some other few examples. Let's see. So int a is equal to 5 and int b is equal to what? 3. So where a or so int c is equal to a plus b. So we have an expression here, and this expression is given in three forms, which is stating A, stating B, and stating C. So over here we have our A to be what? 5, and our B to be 3. So C is the addition of both this expression and also this expression. So we are going to add 5 and 3 to get our variable C. So here A plus B is an expression that would give us 8, which is then stored in C. So A plus, sorry, A plus B is an expression, is an expression that would be stored in C, which would give us 8, because we are adding 5 and the 3, which is A plus B, which gives us, or sums up to 8, which gives us the C. So we move on to the next example. So let's move. Int number is equal to, int number is equal to 10, and C out. So we are outputting the number. C out number and end line. So the end line simply means we are ending this output. Yes, we don't need it to continue anymore. We are ending over there. So we then terminate. So each line above is a full statement. If you forget the semicolon, it gives an error. The semicolon is this, as I mentioned. If you forget the termination or the semicolon, it gives what? An error. It gives an error. So I just added mine to the 10. So in times of programming, when you end each line, you need to terminate, else you would get an error. So we have our last example. So now we are moving on to our statements. So now we are moving on to our statements. So we'll see some examples and trials under the statements. So under the statements, we have an example of let's see, another statement. You can have something like int result, which is equal to equal to um 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 5 plus 3, and let's see, 5 plus 3 outside times 2 times 2. So here 5 plus 3 times 2 is the expression. The full line is a statement because it ends with a semicolon, and that's something. It assigns a value. It does what? It assigns a value. So expressions in this lesson create values like 5 plus, 5 minus, 5 plus 3. We have the operators, the operands, and the variables. So let's move on to those. So we have variables, and for variables, we have the variables are the A, the B, the C, the D, and the other variables. So the variable stores values. For example, x is equal to what? 5. Here, x is a variable. So we move on to the operands. Operands are the data being worked on. For example, in A plus B, both A and B are the operands. So operators or the operator is the symbol that tells the program what to do. For example, in the example I just for the example I just gave earlier, sorry, for the example I just gave earlier, A plus B, the operator in this expression is the plus. The plus is an operator sign. So when you write something like x plus y, that's an expression because it combines the values with an operation. So in this lesson, we are going to talk about the how to use the if statement, the else if, the if else, and the nested if. So let's move on to our ID and see some examples and how to use them. So yes, someone may ask for an example or how an if statement is being given or is being written in a C++ code. So we have our include string, we have our using namespace and our int main. So next we are going to input our age. So let's go. So we have int age, then we terminate. The next so yes, now we have our int age. So now we see out enter your age. Enter your age. Then so enter your age, and this, then now we end the line. So end line. Terminate. So now we see in age. So now we do what? We see in the age. We input our age. So then we terminate. So now what's next? We would use the if statement. So if we bring our parentheses, if age is greater than or equal to 18, we would say then you are an adult. So see out, you are an adult, right? So we end this line also. So end line, then we terminate. So now let's run and see. So yes, it says we should enter a name. And over here it says if age is blah blah, you are an adult. So let's give in 18 and see. Oh let's run again. So now let's enter 18. You see you are an adult. So that means code execution was successful. So this is for the if statement. So now we move to the else. We move to the else, move to our else statement. So now let's move on and see how that's also made. So let's move to our IDE back. Um, so um, okay, so let's continue from just the side. See out and line. So see out if you are age. So now let's continue from here. Else. So if you are not an adult, then you are what? So else. Oh no. So this is the end. So we bring this rather down. Let's bring this here. So else. Then now we see out. We see out. You are not an adult. Yes. So let's make it you're not an adult. So then we end this line also. End line. Yeah, we terminate. So we then have to bring a second curly brace. You have to bring a second curly brace. Yes. So now let's run and see. Let's run and see. Oh, we had an error. So we would go back and then check. Oh, okay, so we missed this. So let's run it again. So it says enter your age. So now, since we've added the else, let's add an age lesser than 18. So 15. You are not an adult. So we can see that using the if and else statements, this is how it generated, and this is our output. This is our code we wrote, and this is the output it gave us. So now we would move on to the else if. So with the else if also, we'll move on to our else if, and with the else if also, we'll move to back to our ID, then see how that's also contracted. So we have our nth age over here. We have the if. So we would bring the if rather in between the side. Good. So we would bring it here. Else if we bring our parenthesis. Else if, what should we even put there? Else if, age is equal to, else if age is greater than or equal to, let's say 1. Then we bring our curly brace. Then we see out age. Then we see out age. Um, 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 you are a baby. You are a baby. So now we bring back our this, and also we end this line. So we end this line with terminate. So now let's run it and see how or see our output. Okay, so it has given us enter age. So let's enter one to see if the else if would work rightly. So one, it says you are a baby. So yes, we can see that it worked perfectly with if, it worked perfectly with the else, it worked perfectly with the else if. So yes. So here the program also let's move back. Okay. So I think this would bring us to the end of the else if and the if statements. Thank you. Okay, so in today's lesson, I will be showing you how to get inputs from the user using the in C++. This is how we make programs interactive by asking users to type something. Let's, yes. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's begin. So we move back to our ID or our code. So we use the in. I think over here, I used it over here. Okay, so now we move to the scene, how we would use the scene. We would move to our ID and we would see how we can use the in. Yes, we are going to look at how to use our in. So we have our include option, we have our standard library, we have our int main. Okay, let's use the int age. So let's still use our age. So now let's go see out. Enter what? Your age. Your age. So we bring a double column. Excuse. So I think we then terminate, then move back to our next line. So our next line, we are going to input something. We are going to input something. So over here, we give C in as age, meaning over here, the person or the individual would enter his or her age. So we terminate here. Then we move to our next line. So next line we see out maybe after entering the age, what then do you want the person or what then do you expect to see? So we give it as you are you are dash age. Use the small letter so yeah dash age is years old. Years old. Let's make this small. So I think would it make sense? See out you are 15 years, you are dash age years old. So let's end this line. Let's end this line. So we bring the end line, then we what we terminate. I think we have our return zero also beneath already. So we can run this safely to see. So it gives us, it says enter your name. So let's enter 27. So you are 27 years of age. You are 27 years old, sorry. So I think this is how to see in or input something to be able to interact, to make programs interactive by asking the user, yes, the user to type in something, which also results in outputting or displaying another result. So we would head on to another example, getting multiple inputs. So we would head on to getting multiple inputs. So let's get back to our IDE back. So let's should we okay. So now number one, number one, number two. We move to our next line. So this we are trying to get multiple inputs. Over here we are trying to get multiple inputs. So we move to the next line. Move see out number one. Um number one, number two. Then we do what we terminate. Then we move to our next line. So int sum. We are finding for the sum. So the sum is would be, so our int sum is num1 plus. So we make mention that the plus, the minus, the division and multiplication sign, they are all operators. Yes, they are all operators which are used to separate or interact with two different operands. So over here, go num 2, then we terminate. So we move to our next line as cout um, the sum is sum end line. So I think let's try to make it to use values instead. Let's make it one. Over here we move to cout enter two numbers. Enter two numbers. Then we do what? We terminate. So move to our next line, seeing number one, number two. Then we do what? We terminate, right? So let's give in a space. So we move on to the int sum is equal to number one plus number two. Then terminate. So we move back to our next line, cout the sum S. Some end line. Then we terminate. So now let's run this and see. Enter two number. So let's enter two, two. So our sum is what? 44. So 22 plus 22 sums up to 44. So I think this brings us to the end of our C in or our inputs of multiple values and single values. So thank you.